Hi, I'm Jada from Girl from the Coast Designs. I create knitting patterns and tutorials designed with structure, clarity and care. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about garment shaping. I'm going to talk about three aspects of that. One is a chest to hip taper, which is demonstrated in this sweater here, and that's what I usually refer to as masculine shaping. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about waist shaping and how that can work in a garment, bust darts, and a little bit on sleeve tapering and garment shaping in a heavily textured fabric. And for that I'm going to use the Battello sweater, which is an all-over cable. So we'll start off with this one. This is the Mar de Leva sweater, and as you can see it's partially in construction, but it's finished enough that I can talk to you about the shaping that's occurred within this garment here. And what has happened here is that from here at the underarm join to here, I think it was the last shaping, the garment is 5 centimetres or 2 inches narrower around the body, and that's because the person that this sweater was made for, my husband James, has a far larger chest measurement than he does at the hips. He doesn't like a lot of free garment flapping around those hips, and so we taper the garments in there for him. In this sweater that occurred through 4 lots of decreases, evenly placed between the underarm and finishing about 5 centimetres above the hem. That gradually reduced the shape of the sweater. And so that is a tapered garment. It's subtle, it's very useful. I tend to use it in masculine shaping, where most of the men in my life tend to have bigger chests than hip measurements, but it can also be used in a feminine garment. So the next one that we will talk about is waist shaping and bust darts, and for that I'll use this Navis sweater that's a rustic lace garment. Heavy DK, almost a worsted weight garment. And this has bust darts to add additional length on the front of the body, and it has waist shaping. And again, this garment has a reduction from the underarm into the waist, and then comes out slightly again for the hips, but not as wide as at the bust. So, and there are also horizontal bust shaping rows across here. I haven't blocked it so you can actually see that shaping that occurs in this area here, and that's added another inch or 2.5 centimetres to the front of the garment. And this ensures that there is relatively the same amount of ease around the garment. It's not about creating an hourglass shape, we're not aiming for that. We're aiming for the same amount of ease on all parts of a body, and of course a body is not a straight tube for most of us, and that's how we achieve it in this garment here. There was regular decreases down here to the waist, then about 5 centimetres of straight knitting, and then a smaller number of increases down here finishing well above the hem. I think it was about there. So that is the Navis sweater. And the last one that I'll talk about is this one here. This is Battello. This is my latest design. It hasn't been released yet. And as you can see, this is a very heavily cabled sweater. So this also has shaping in it. So how did we achieve that? Because we've got cables front and back, and this has bust darts, and it has tapering that occurs down to about here on the garment. So with this I was really reluctant to do bust darts up here, because it becomes incredibly difficult to actually keep these patterns aligned front and back. and that would have just ruined what is a very beautiful design. So the way I tackled it here, because as I said with the Navis, the bust darts that I use create additional length, they don't create width. And that's to stop a sweater riding up on a frame that has a very full bust. And so the way I dealt with that was I got down to the last cable run that I was going to do on the back, and then I did short rows down here along the front. So there's an additional inch of fabric, 2.5 centimetres on the front. Then on the back, I finished the short rows at a sensible place inside each of these cable designs, so the cable remained true, but there is that additional length. And if I show you the hem there, you'll see that there's a difference. When the garment is worn, and I'll put a still up on the video, you will see that it actually sits evenly on the body. That's the whole idea. So there is also a reduction, as I said, a taper that occurs, and the way I dealt with that was when we put the underarm additional stitches in, there was enough left that there were additional stitches to what was required to complete the cables. And so very subtly in here is a mirror cable that disappears down here towards the bottom. And so I just, at every so often down the side of each side of the sweater, I did a series of reductions that just took it down into the cable at the bottom. And that has disappeared relatively well inside the garment. So I'm very happy with that. The other thing that I'll talk about is sleeve shaping, and in this heavily ribbed sweater, how does that occur without distorting the finish on the frame? And the way I do my sleeve shaping in general is I have two cadences. I have one to the elbow and then a more rapid cadence down here on the forearm and into the wrist. And that's because I like to have different amounts of ease in a garment. I think this one was designed with 6 centimetres of ease. Most of us don't want 6 centimetres of ease on our sleeves, so I use a far smaller amount. I think it's 4.5 centimetres at the upper arm, coming down to 3 centimetres of ease in the forearm, down to 2 centimetres of ease around the wrist, and this has got a self patterned cuff, and so it just sits nicely on the body without huge amounts of excess fabric here, there and everywhere. For this design, because it's from memory 2.1 rib, 2 to 1 rib, I just did those tapering points at the underarm, and it is not glaringly obvious that we have different ease, different cadence coming down the sweater, and that was the finish that I was aiming for. So with every garment design, the questions that I ask when it comes to body shaping or garment shaping is, does the body need a taper? Am I going to want waist shaping in this design or offering it as an option in the pattern? Does it need additional front length in the larger sizes? Whereabouts do we place it? And what does the fabric actually allow us to do? Good design isn't applying the same solutions to every garment. It's thinking about what various frames and various bodies are going to ask from this particular garment and how can I accommodate those in the design. Thank you for spending time with me today. If you enjoyed this video or any of the others on our channel, please feel free to like and subscribe and keep up to date with any new videos as we release them. Thank you for knitting with me today.